Welcome to Conversations with Body and Mind with myself, Antoinette Nirvana. Body and Mind is your health and wellness online directory. And coming up in today's conversations, we'll be chatting to Grant Morrison, and he's going to chat to us about Jung Shim, which we're going to find out. I'm very intrigued. Good morning, Grant. How are you doing?
Good morning. How are you today?
Can't complain. This is the first time I've heard of this, so I'm very interested.
No, it is fascinating.
Well, before you're going to explain to us what Jung Shim is all about, I want to know a little bit more about the man behind the Jung Shim. What were the stepping stones and the arrows that eventually brought you to doing this? You've told me you've been out of the country for 20 years doing this, and tell me a little bit more about your journey.
Well, the journey actually started when I was around 3 years old. At that very young age, I suffered from a great deal of anxiety and worry, which was, I think, pretty unusual for a 3-year-old. My parents were quite concerned. They took me to a doctor, and the doctor did barium meals, and they really couldn't understand why I felt so anxious. And eventually they put it down to just having sympathy pain, because my father was a fairly anxious person himself. But anyway, that didn't help because that anxiety, that stress followed me throughout my life. I struggled with exams in school. Even though I did pretty well, it really, really affected me deeply. When I went into university, I had a bit more freedom, and that stress found an unpleasant expression through alcohol and really rock and roll living. So I didn't study as much, but I really, really partied, and I actually ended up doing my body quite a lot of harm. I was at the time also doing a lot of gymnastics and did kung fu, so I had a lot of jarring exercises, jarring pains for my joints. So at the age of 26, I was diagnosed with arthritis. It was an absolute shocker for me. I couldn't believe at such a young age I had this old person's disease. So I had to stop all the sports that I loved, which was really quite traumatic for me at the time. But despite the arthritis, it was more the emotional stress, the worry that was always with me. I couldn't live properly. I felt I was borderline bipolar as well. I could be up 1 minute and down the next. I really, really struggled. So I worked for a while in South Africa, and eventually I just couldn't deal with it anymore. And I thought, okay, let me just go overseas and see if a change in environment would help. But of course, the stress and the anxiety and the alcohol, that kind of propensity followed me there as well. So for a few years in London, I carried on with this lifestyle, which was just not helping me, and I was getting quite ill. And then I came across a man called Master O, who brought this method over from Korea. And I started having treatments with him, and doing classes, and did something more called family healing. And this just totally opened the door for me. From there, I just went from strength to strength. I felt so peaceful, so calm. My body felt a little more flexible. The circulation was so much better. And it helped me to such a degree that I actually packed up my job as an IT consultant in London. I gave up everything, and I started this full-time practice with Jung Shim. And I just haven't looked back since then. I've been, as you said, I've been away in London. I've learned in South Korea, and I've run a center in the Netherlands as well over the last 20 years. And I came back to South Africa in 2018 to bring this beautiful thing to my fellow countrymen, to my homeland in South Africa. And that is why I'm here. So I've opened up a center here, and ready to help people to take advantage of this really extraordinary process.
Sounds amazing. Thanks, Grant. One of the things that I learned as well in part of my gypsy life was wherever I went, I took myself with me, or wherever I go, I took the weather with me. And that's one thing we can't do, is escape ourselves and escape those things that we think we're running away from.
Indeed.
Which a lot of us do. We think the grass is greener on the other side, but it's only because there's more manure there. On your Body and Mind page, you say helping everyone harness the power of their own human energy.
Yes.
That's quite beautiful. And I'd like you to tell me, I'm really intrigued about Jung Shim, what it is, what is the process, and how does it really, help you to harness that energy?
We are seeing, and I think many people would agree, that we are facing a human energy crisis. People are very, very short of energy. Energy in their body doesn't circulate properly. And this is not just leading to physical problems, but very, very much mental, emotional problems, spiritual problems as well. Understanding ki is quite important. There are many different types of ki, but there is one original ki, that original light and vibration that is actually creating and supporting life. It is there all the time. It is governing the movement of everything that we can see in the physical world. And that is the energy. It is infinite in supply. But we have to make a connection to it. We have to understand how to actually receive that energy. I always use a great analogy when trying to explain this, and it's like a car. A car has fuel and a car has a battery. I think everybody is very, very well versed in how to receive fuel energy. We take care of our sleep and our exercise patterns and do yoga and we do meditation and we do all these things. We eat well, but this is all fuel. It's physical energy. It's yin and yang in nature. But the battery is what we need. And we only receive this battery once in our lifetime, and that's on conception, when yin and yang in their guises this time of sperm and egg, when they meet, life is created. And that is the battery. That battery we don't receive again. But we can learn how to receive and circulate this energy in our body to supplement our energy resources all the time. So that will then boost physical function. It supports more mental and emotional function. Of course, also brightens the spirit, which is so vitally important. So we need to have that connection. And Jung Shim means beautiful mind. So it is the connection, the linchpin between spirit and body. If the mind is always active, you just can't keep quiet, that indicates a serious shortage of energy, shortage of ki. So it's very difficult for the spirit and the body to communicate and to have harmony. By receiving original ki and learning how to do it in the things we do, we start to understand more deeply the nature of this ki, the mind behind this ki, and how we can make our minds calm and peaceful always, so that it's supporting a proper circulation of energy through spirit, from spirit, into mind, and then into body. When this happens, then we can be happy, we can be healthy, we can be prosperous, we can be creative, as we are designed to be.
My own body, I have a lot of joint pains. Being an Aries, I used to have so much energy. If I do interviews and editing, I could sit an entire day. Is that the kind of thing that the person that would come and see you saying, I've got a lot of pain, I don't have energy, what do you do then?
What you describe is very common, but a lot of people have a lot of energy and physically they feel quite good, but they can't keep their minds quiet. The mind always thinking, always worrying. And that in itself is also a very severe shortage of energy. So it's not just those with physical pains, joint pains or the like. I think it's everyone. We are all so disconnected from ourselves, from each other, from our environment. And we're not availing ourselves to a source of energy that is actually always there. So how we start initially is with our treatments. Key energy treatments where people can actually passively receive this energy. That is my training. I kind of live like a monk, if you like. So my focus is entirely on learning how to build a solid connection so that I can share key with people as much as possible. And that's what people receive when they come to the center here in Joburg, is to receive energy just so they can boost up their energy levels and at the same time to start to circulate this energy a lot more freely, because often people are very blocked and there's a lot of tension and there's a lot of pain. So when energy starts to circulate better, there's a better circulation of blood as well. There's a more even flow and the body starts to relax and starts to open. And then healing can start to take place because we're actually starting to create the right environment for health to take place.
And how do you transmit that energy? Is it like equipment or is it through your eyes? Connect with a person's eye and then transfer that energy or chi to another person. So how does that happen?
Okay, well, it's a fascinating anatomy of this treatment. There's three things. So the very first thing is the mind directs energy. If the mind, as I mentioned earlier, is in the right place, if it's clear, calm and peaceful and super focused, like a magnifying glass reflecting the sun, the rays of the sun, burning a leaf, for example, the mind can focus energy very, very, very strongly if it is clear, if it's empty, if it's beautiful and focused. So my job is to do that as much as I possibly can. When I start the treatment, I can clear my mind very quickly and I can focus my mind. But then the next part is very interesting because it's using sound. I create a sound that creates a vibration. And sound is phenomenal because it carries energy. If you have two identical tuning forks, you hit one, you create a vibration in one, the other one vibrates. If an opera singer at a certain pitch can shatter glass at a certain frequency. So sound is actually carrying energy, but more importantly, sound penetrates matter. The sound is actually carrying energy into the energy system. Mind is directing energy, the sound is carrying energy, and then acupressure is stimulating along the main meridians in the body, stimulating energy flow, opening up the channels, releasing tension, and it's just so relaxing and so wonderful for people to receive. And that's where I start.
One of the things that I always try and focus on with regards to some of the pain that I have is I kind of look a lot at Louise Hay, because what is the emotional connection to this pain, my joints? What is the emotional stuff that I'm still carrying and being stuck in those joints? So if I'm not ready to release that stuckness or what I hook into as a young child, and you do that energy work or transmission of that energy, would that break through my belief systems, if I can call it that, that is causing the pain that is still stuck in my joints?
Absolutely, absolutely. But of course, one has to be open to it. I think a lot of people will be quite attached to the way they feel and quite attached to what they believe and what they, everybody's got judgments, everybody's got opinions, and these things do take up a lot of space in the mind. But very, very naturally, if we start to receive ki, now ki is a lot more than energy. It is actually the original state of the universe. It's your original, pristine, beautiful state. When you start to receive that light, that vibration, you can start to feel something a lot more than what's coming from the emotions and what's coming from your experiences and your judgments and your opinions and all these emotions. You're actually giving yourself an alternative. You're starting to feel actually who you are. And then instead of following the emotional patterns that we are conditioned to follow, you start to experience something else. And the more you train here, the more you train to stay in that different vibration, slowly but surely you balance out the emotional responses. So it's not so much about delving into the past and being in it and trying to analyze it. It's completely not like that. This is very Taoist, which is really if you have a lack of something, then you have to balance it out with an abundance of something else. So ki is balanced. It's totally balanced. So the more you receive it, the more your mind can come into balance, the more you experience who you are, and you support then who you are. You start making better decisions in how you're going to react. And when that happens, when the emotional responses are becoming more balanced, then the movement of energy in the body is more balanced and more regular. Then you're actually starting to give your body what it needs.
Okay, I understand that it kind of transcends the emotions a little bit. And as you say, one of the things that a lot of people don't realize is that, are you ready to let go of that stuff and the payoff of what you receive out of holding on to that stuff? Because that's ultimately your choice of what you release and how you can then go and see somebody like yourself and truly get the benefit of receiving it.
Absolutely, but very few people are ready to give up these things initially. So it's not a prerequisite. You come here just with a yearning to be different, to do something different, and to get better. If you are sincere about wanting to improve your health, whether it be spiritually, mentally, emotionally, or physically, come and just try, and I'll do my level best to support anybody in that journey. But those decisions to let go will come later, once you start to feel your permanent foundation that we have.
Absolutely.
That foundation is what we need to launch into life with, rather than the temporary one. With the emotions, we use our emotions to get the things that we want. Emotions are vitally important. We can't remove them, but we don't use the emotions correctly. And this is what drains energy, and this is what blocks up the energy system. So when you start to receive ki, you feel your beautiful foundation, then you can start to use your emotions in a very different way to actually support life, to support others, to express more love, more compassion, more tolerance. People just have to experience that energy first, their original state. And that's what I really want to facilitate with people here.
It sounds amazing. I'd like to know, with your contact details, is it something that you can do long distance? Does somebody have to come to see you? Where are you based? Your contact details, social media. If you can give us a little bit more about how can people come and see you?
Yes, absolutely. Well, at the moment, I operate solo in Parktown North in Johannesburg, but I have a very, very strong mission to open in Cape Town and Durban this year as well. So I will be visiting Durban and Cape Town this year to give an introductory talk and also, more importantly, give people the opportunity to receive their first treatment. I want to talk just a little bit about the various things that we do and what I want to introduce to people. We do the treatments initially, which is people passively receiving energy, as I mentioned earlier, using the sound and acupressure. But we also do classes. And in the classes, people are learning how to actively receive, circulate, and use energy to make the spirit bright, to make the mind strong, clear, and to make the body stronger. But we also do something which is, to me, was the door opener. It was the most fascinating thing I've ever come across, and that's called family healing. We don't just express our own emotional patterns. We inherit a lot of emotional and mental patterns from our parents and from our ancestors. Now, this is Well, I tell you, it is the most amazing thing. It is what really opened the door for me. We can, through this family healing program, can help to change those inheritance and patterns which influence our decisions on a daily basis. So those are the three things we do. Now, I do the classes and I do the treatments under the family healing here in Johannesburg. But we can also do online training from London. So we broadcast the classes several times daily, so people can join that. But I would recommend very, very much coming in for a treatment and a consultation, whether it is on Skype or physically here in Johannesburg, so that we can get to know each other and we can start designing a program for people to recover essentially their original nature.
That sounds great. And one thing I learned about the blueprint and the DNA, the sins of the father is what I always call it. When I started realizing, if you look at your family's bloodline and you wonder why are certain things happening and why is all my sisters like this and why is my mother like this, and you start realizing that there's a bloodline, and if that bloodline is toxic, I call it toxic, and it's not been cleared, then it just goes from generation to generation until somebody goes and says, I need to shift this family's bloodline.
Absolutely.
There's always one person in the family that balances the entire family.
The thing is that we have thousands of ancestors. We know very few of them.
Exactly.
So our ancestral lines go back many, many generations. So we don't know what's in our family lines, which is a tragedy. We can resolve our emotional relationships with a parent, a grandfather, and maybe a great-grandparent. But that's not even a fraction of a percent.
Exactly.
There are so many other ancestors who need help. We predominantly lead a life that is physical. For the last 1,000 years, we've led physical lives. We relate our identity to our body. Okay, we accept that we have a mind, but, we haven't seen it. We don't know what it looks like. We may have a belief in the spirit, but do we follow it? Not often. We live a physical life. So after death, after physical death, we don't understand how to follow the spirit. And just by dying doesn't solve the problem. You can't suddenly follow your spirit's will just because you're dead.
No, exactly.
And that is the problem. People simply go where they are. Nothing changes after death. The emotional patterns are there, that frequency, that vibration, addictions, emotions, judgments, opinions, they're still there. And that vibration has such a strong impact on descendants. So a lot of people feel like they have these unexplained emotions. Why do I feel like this all the time? I get angry. There's no reason. It is because that angry vibration is coming very strongly from many, many ancestors in your various lines. But we can't change it. We can't do anything for them. They don't have a body. We are lucky. We have a body. We can receive ki. They don't. So they can't actually change their state. So it's up to us. What we do through the family healing program is helping our ancestors to receive something through the descendant. If they receive ki, which is their original state, then they have an understanding of how to follow the Tao law. The universal law. And all they're following is the law of me, myself, and I, which is, I like this, I like that, I don't, I hate this. Or, it's that typical human mind that everybody exhibits 99% of their lives.
And if you think about it, there is actually no timeline in this energy world. It all coexists simultaneously exactly at the same time. So you might think somebody has died 2,000 years ago, but, I kind of look at it as different levels. That is what I see. Our ascendants or our past relatives are all part of this pot in the same time frame,
Well, from my understanding, it's a little different to that, but from what we can understand and what we see, there is time. Time exists. It's a reality. Human time, we measure very simply. We're just basing time on how long it takes for the Earth to rotate on its axis and how long it takes for the Earth to revolve around the sun. But everything else is moving. We're only measuring one thing against the other. We have a very limited view of time. We don't understand time at all. We only use it as a practical thing to run our lives. There are greater cycles at play here. There are universal cycles which are undeniable. They move in exactly the same way as the year, except that they're much, much longer. The Earth is now coming to the end of a cycle, of its life cycle.
Yes.
Of 5,787 years.
That's right.
Which is why we are here, actually, is to help people to be in the right place so that we can actually be part of this movement of life.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if we just physicalize and we just focus on the physical, we actually no longer part of the universal movement of time.
Of the cosmos, yeah.
But it is moving and it's evolving, and we need to be part of that time. We need to be part of that evolution. But in order to do that, we need to be part of it. We need to clear the mind. We need to follow the spirit. And the spirit ourselves need to follow something beyond itself as well.
Great. Well, Grant, I know that we are having a wonderful chat and I could chat for you for hours. But if you could end off now with your contact details, social media, how people can get hold of you, please.
Yes, sure. I'm available on WhatsApp. My mobile number is 0741 885 964. I can be contacted at johannesburg@jungshim.org, and that is JUNGSHIM, Jung Shim, beautiful mind. And I do have a Facebook page. It's on Facebook. It's just Jung Shim Johannesburg. And there's some videos there, and there's some lovely little quotes and things. I want to encourage people to actually come and experience it. I think the proof of the pudding's in the tasting. I think you'd agree.
Yeah.
So come and receive Original Key, and we can take it from there.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Grant. And please don't forget, you can find Grant's information, all the links to his website, social media, on the Body and Mind page, bodyandmind.coza, as well as our blog, which is the bodyandmindblog.coza. You can also now download the app into your Apple as well as your Android Play stores and interact with us that way. All our interviews, all our members pages are available on our app. And then don't forget to please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And again, find information on the links below in how to get hold of Grant. So that's it for us, Grant. Thank you so much for sharing such amazing information with us.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Nirvana, for your time. I really appreciate it.
Pleasure. All right. Well, you enjoy the rest of your day, and thanks for sharing your work with me.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right. Cheers. Bye.